Welcome to the Bernitha Rena Relates podcast. I'm your host, Bernitha Rena. Today we're chatting with Suzzen Jefferson Stroman. She's a wife, an entrepreneur, and an author, and the founder of the I Am Wife Foundation. She's also my friend. We came into each other's lives at a time when I just so happened to be praying desperately for direction. And ultimately, she taught me the single greatest lesson of my life, which is how to fail up. She taught me that failure isn't where the story ends. It's where revelation begins. Hey, Suzzen, welcome. I'm so happy you are here.
I am so happy to be here.
Suzzen, you speak to the heart of wives across the country. What's one truth you want every wife to know?
Ooh, that's a big one. Be mindful of every hat that you wear. I say it that way because a lot of times we don't think about all of the things that we do as wives. As a wife, I am a business owner. I am a mother. I'm a grandmother. I'm a friend. I'm an aunt. I'm all of these things, and something different is required of me in each role. So I would say, please take stock of every space that you hold.
Man, that is so powerful. What has your own journey as a wife and as a woman taught you about your own identity and purpose?
Oh, wow. I did not discover my purpose until I realized that I was doing different things with those different hats, and I was dealing with them singularly. It's only one of me, so I was trying to be Suzzen the professional, Suzzen the business owner, Suzzen the mom, Suzzen all of these things. And then when I realized that the wife in me encompassed all of those roles, I was able to focus on being the best wife that I could be. And as a wife, we're supposed to make our husband's name great at the city gates. And what that says is, I'm out here being an entrepreneur. I'm bringing business and income into the home. I'm raising my children. And I'm being a suitable helper everywhere that I go. So once I started to focus more on the type of wife that I was, I didn't have to battle with being a good professional anymore. I didn't have to battle with showing up as an excellent business owner anymore because I was her. As a Christian woman, I've been called to the position of wife, but I was solely focused on all of the other hats that I happened to find myself placed in. But truly, when I started to focus on that and to live up to the position that I was called to as wife, everything else fell in place. I became a better mother. I became a better business owner. All of the things fell in place. So my purpose is truly all of the failures that I made, all of the mistakes that I made, all of the successes, is to be able to share those from a place of straight up vulnerability and give it all away because I didn't go through it for myself. So my purpose is to do that. It's to shout from the rooftops as a business owner and all of the things, but primarily, how did I do it and remain in position as a wife?
Yeah. So, Suzzen, bring us all up to date for those of the people out there who are meeting you for the first time. Can you tell us more about how you got to this place as a relationship coach and what your day-to-day life looks like in walking in your calling as a relationship coach and as a wife?
It's daily decisions, and that's in everything that I do. I had to get to a place where my primary focus was to be the best at the first calling on my life. I was first called to be that man's wife. Even though I didn't like him, I didn't want to talk to him too much. He wasn't my Jewish. We weren't the same person. I had to work at conversation with him. So I had to first give myself permission to let all of the ideas of what I thought marriage was going to be go. Just let it go. Zero expectations at this point because we were definitely failing. Divorce was the option. Yeah, we had the family, we had the kids, we had the grandkids, married over 20 years, and we'd grown apart. And so my journey to becoming a relationship coach was true failure. I had not only failed as a wife, but I failed as a woman. And I say that because I never did give him the true essence of who I was. I was trying to be everything that I thought I was supposed to, as opposed to authentically walking in who I know God called me to be. And the way I got there was straight up failure on my face. Didn't have any options. He didn't like me. I didn't like him. Trying to make sure the kids didn't find out we were struggling as bad as we were. So I was putting on the front for everybody. I was leading in church big time. People didn't know we were really going through what we were going through. So that journey to becoming Suzanne the relationship coach was through a whole lot of heartbreak, a whole lot of telling myself the truth, a whole lot of stepping outside of who I thought I was and allowing the truth about who I was to be just laid out across the table in front of me. And once I accepted, no, I did not show up as my best self for him. No, I didn't show up as my authentic self for him. I was floored and I begged for an opportunity to be the woman that I know I am deep on the inside for him. And if it ended after that, I would feel good about it. I just know that I hadn't shown up. But if it ended and he really didn't know me after 20 years, oh man, that would have been the greatest regret of my life. But by the grace of God, there was a window and I was able to now just humble myself and allow the Holy Spirit to do the work on the inside of me, which was tell me who I am. And it was a 2-year process, to be honest. And a lot of times it was silent. I didn't say anything. I just watched and I learned and I showed up different everywhere I went. Everything was an opportunity to show my husband who I was. And he noticed.
Wow. I can absolutely relate to that 100%. I feel like where I am now is maybe where you started out in the sense of coming to learn more about who I am, what the Lord wants to do with me in my life, and just getting to know myself for maybe the first time in my life. And for even in all of that, does my husband really know who I truly am? Probably not.
Yeah.
If I'm only just getting to know myself. So my question to you would, for those who are at the place in their life where they're working feverishly to try to understand who they are, show up in their own skin authentically, enjoy being their true selves.
Yeah.
Then on the other side of that, they have this whole marriage with this whole other person, and they're thinking, I don't even know where to begin with the other person because I'm still trying to figure out myself. Can you walk us through how you were able to discover who you are and then how that eventually impacted your marriage? Because it sounds like it wasn't overnight.
No, it wasn't overnight. It was really a 2-year process of dying to myself. It was the most painful thing I've ever experienced in my life because he was supposed to be all of the things, right? Most of us, when we get married, he's supposed to be that person for all of the things. He's supposed to share in my happiness, share in my grief, share in my excitement, share in all of the emotions that we go through. I had to let my expectation of him go to zero, where I didn't expect anything from him. And I struggle with that today, to be honest, where if I'm not well cared for mentally, spiritually, emotionally, I'll begin to find myself expecting him to show up where I need to do the work on me. It is such an unfair place to put a mere human because a person will 9 times out of 10 fail up because they have their own baggage, their own emotional struggles, their own childhood traumas, their own life to manage. And when we get married, we really intertwine that and we forget that, yes, I am his, but I am his. But how I did it, I had a great coach that reminded me to stay on my paper, to stay laser focused on what was in front of me to do. And how do you do that? You fight for it. You fight for it. Every single time the thought comes up, but what about him? No, what about me? And a lot of times we have a real hard time with self-care because we get it confused and it becomes selfish sometimes. I didn't even know what self-care looks like when I started the journey. I was thinking it was maintenance. Like, we're going to go get our eyelashes done. We're going to go get our nails done. We're going to get our hair done. We're going to do those things. That's maintenance. True self-care isn't something that you can pay for. It's probably something that you enjoyed doing as a kid.
Wow.
If people don't talk about it.
You said true self-care isn't even something that you can pay for. Wow.
Fair.
Like, how profound is that? Because it's just that deep. It's that inner work.
Yeah.
So what do you say to the woman who says, okay, I'm doing the inner work. However, he expects me to be his everything. And you're telling me expect nothing from him? How do I even do that?
Listen, there are a whole bunch of little phrases that I had to master because it's easier to say how I feel as opposed to just telling the truth. You expect me to do that. I can't. And rest in it. There's no other word needed to be spoken after that. The truth of the matter is, I can't.
Mm-hmm.
Or this even applies to you at work. You have a set number of things that you have to get accomplished today. It's the scariest thing in the world to tell those that you're in relationship with, your children, your husband, your boss, I can't.
I can't. I don't have anything else in me.
But we're so prone to make excuses.
So you're saying not even give the additional explanation of, I'm so tired. I got up early. The kid had me up late last night. So-and-so was sick. None of that. Just, I can't, and just rest in it and see how he responds.
Yes, ma'am. You learn so much. And 9 times out of 10, people respect the fact that you can't. And he may want you to wash those dishes. Now, if you got a deadline and you knew you had that deadline and you 30 minutes on it and your boss tell you, hey, where's that report? You better knock that report out in them 30 minutes and get your job done.
That's right.
But it's that extra stuff, you know what I mean, that you probably were doing that you didn't even have to do. You hear what I'm saying? Because as women, that's what we do. We knock what we have to do out and grab something else to add on our plate. And then when it becomes an expectation of others and we're overwhelmed, we don't know how to get ourselves out of that, and simply put, I can't.
I can't. Versus going ahead and doing it and operating in resentment and, there's too much of me. But all we had to say was, I can't, instead of just dragging yourself to the next task and being exhausted. I love it.
Yeah.
You also got your own relationship coach. Now, I understand it's called a relationship coach, but it sounds like the person was helping you manage your personal relationship with yourself.
Yeah, that's the primary relationship.
Over these 2 years, you learned more about who you were and what you wanted. Did your husband just sit you down one day and say, hey, I noticed you've changed? How did that happen? When did he start to notice that all of a sudden you're kind of a different person?
I started with unlearning a lot of the habit that I had picked up. And it was hard work because that muscle was built over years. And now I'm trying to condition other muscles, right? Tapping into my femininity. When I had to fight for my place most of my life, I had that masculine role in my head, in my body, just self-protection. So to break that all the way down and tap into the feminine girl that I know I am. When I started the process, we weren't talking and I wasn't sharing with too many people outside of my home. And so I was having a lot of internal conversations. So I had a dream. In this dream, I actually walked up on this place and it was silent. And I walked in, it was dimly lit. It was theater work going. It was on this side, they were laughing and cracking jokes. On the other side, they were painting. It was just a complete scene of art and people who loved it, right? And when I woke up, it was like, this is art. You are a child of the arts. You love this kind of stuff. So it was me being reintroduced to the things that I love, right? As I discovered that, then I had to show it. I was vulnerable. Now that I know, I have an idea. Am I going to show it to the world? Am I going to reintroduce who I know I've been all of this time with this hard exterior to the world? Because that's scary. They might not like me. So I did not say anything for a while. So we would be in the house, not doing anything. I would just do what I love to do. And one day we were on the radio and he didn't say anything to me. He said it to the host of the radio show. He was like, she's a stalker. She's stalking me. She won't say nothing, but I see her watching me. And so I smiled. I was like, you see me though.
Yeah.
But you see, I continue to walk a little bit more lighter. I continue to walk in who I know I am. And I discovered that I don't have to say much in order for him to see me. So I began the process of just walking and allowing him to watch. Yeah. And it did a lot. It changed a lot.
So I'm hearing that, number one, you discovered your own love, your artistic side. So that's just you showing up in your authentic self and just being happy, right? That's number one. Number two, you realized that you needed to bring the feminine energy, or for some of us, maybe even discover for the first time what that feminine energy looks like, because I'm a kid of the 90s. So we were taught independence. You need to be a woman. You need to make your own money. You need to be successful in your own right. And so all of that stuff was instilled in us. However, none of the other stuff was removed, which is You also need to be an excellent wife and an excellent cook. You need to know how to clean really well. So you have to have all these things that were passed through the generations. And then you have to have these new age things. So there's just all this stuff that's compressed on us as we're walking into marriages. And most of us don't even know it. And then on top of that, you have the masculine energy. I know for myself, I didn't even realize that's what I was carrying, right? So I'm in a house and it's a couple of dudes. It's my husband, it's a man. And yeah, I'm walking around in my masculine energy because that's what I have to bring to be respected. And that's what I have to bring to be a successful person. So yeah, you're walking around this masculine energy and you don't even know it. But it's because it's two dudes. And so I love that, Suzanne. You rediscovered your feminine energy. Can you walk us through some of the things that you had to unlearn and where you think those things came from?
The biggest and most dangerous thing that I had to unlearn is the negative self-talk. Telling myself a narrative as opposed to praying about it or just not telling myself the negative aspects of what I mean by negative self-talk is when you're having a conversation that nobody else is privy to. You're planting seed within yourself about whatever the situation is. And this applies in every relationship that we may find ourselves in, because if we are not articulating how we feel with truth and we just allow ourselves to play that same tune over and over and over again, that's where the resentment, the bitterness, the sometimes hatred, just sheer exhaustion comes into play. I think that was the hardest thing I had to learn.
Yeah, that's so interesting because if you're having this negative self-talk with yourself, you've already determined in your mind what you think the outcome of the conversation will be.
Yes, ma'am.
So once you finally show up and have a real conversation with the individual, you're already on edge because you're like, I knew you was going to say that. And you're going toe to toe, right? Because you had already planted those seeds. And so you're already defensive and ready to fight.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So where do you think that negative self-talk comes from? Do you think we're born with that?
I think it's safe. That's a form of safety. I don't know too many people that like to have hard conversations. Sometimes we think it's the modest thing to do. Some of us were raised in homes where we were told to hush, just be quiet. We weren't able to speak how we felt coming up. So we find ourselves bringing that piece of baggage into all forms of our relationships. We built that muscle of telling ourselves, like you said, the entire story from start to finish. And then we get comfortable with the outcome that we imagined and we live that out. So yeah, it comes from multiple places. Safety, how we may have been brought up, some of the things we may have experienced as adults.
Yeah. And we're like manifesting the negative and we don't even realize that's what we're doing. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Because if we think in the positive, like, well, I expect that when I talk to my coworker about this really hard thing, that they're going to respond in a positive way and they're going to be nice and they're going to be jovial. And then if they don't do that, we're so let down. So I can see what you're saying. You're saying you give yourself the worst case scenario so that if that does happen, you're not just torn apart almost. Like you can handle it better if the worst case scenario happens. Why don't you spend that energy imagining the best case scenario? But for the person who's listening and they're saying, okay, I'm trying that. I'm imagining the best case scenario. But then if that doesn't happen, how do I deal with that? How do I deal with the disappointment?
Don't expect what the outcome is going to be. The outcome is going to be the outcome. They may show up in a positive way. Don't even tell yourself the positive perspective because you don't know how people will respond. You give them room to respond however they choose to show up. Our responsibility is to be on our paper. How am I going to show up?
Gotcha.
If the response is not quite positive, how will I respond? How am I going to show up?
Right.
It's needless emotion when we're telling ourselves the positive or negative outcome because we can't control that.
That's so incredibly enlightening to focus on whatever it is that you control, showing up in your truth, speaking out your truth, and however they respond, whether negative or positively, don't expel that energy trying to figure out how they're going to respond. Instead, you're saying, you just show up in your true, authentic self. You state your truth. And then however they respond is however they respond. But you just always know you're going to come back with a certain type of attitude and a certain type of lightness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the end result to that scenario, if it were Suzanne today, and I was faced with the turmoil of having that narrative play in my head, and I'm going to put myself with one of my clients. We have an IT company, so we're dealing with techie people all day long. Just say it's contract on the line, and I know it's kind of hairy, and I have to say what I need in order to get the job done. Such and such. I would love the opportunity to be able to talk to you about it. And if they fly off the handle, here is who I am. Even when I knew this was going to be hairy, I am a woman full of grace, dignity, and respect. Even in the face of adversity, I will be her. You hear what I mean? So it's how I move in every area of my life. Do I fail from time to time? Yes, ma'am. But I'm firmly reminded, okay, you are a woman full of grace, dignity, and respect, even when faced with adversity.
Yeah.
So how do I measure myself? I measure myself based on that.
So regardless of how someone responds, shows up, you're saying every single time, I know how I'm going to show up. So Suzanne, was there a defining moment? Was there something that was just so pivotal that made you make this shift in how you thought about life and redirected your purpose?
Yes, ma'am. The defining moment is when I almost lost everything. I got married at 18. I grew up with this dude. We're in our 50s now. At the time, we were in our 40s. And I'd given him all of the best years of my life. That's what I said then. Like, I was in my 20s and fine, all of the things. Like, I'd given you all of the good parts to be, and so my ego was enormous, right? Enormous. That's just how I was raised, to just be that girl. In my mind, that's just how we were raised. And so the idea of losing him, I could not make it make sense, right? Even though I know I was cocky, I had a flip mouth. He couldn't teach me nothing in them days. I thought he wasn't the smartest tool in the shed. Like, what you gonna teach me? I know it all. That's the girl I was. But when we almost lost, couldn't believe it. That shook me to my core. And then when we went for counseling, I think what shook me even more is that there was no one telling me what to do. And when I say no one, we went to a prominent pastor, and he could not fix it. And I'm going to share something with you that I haven't shared with anyone other than my husband. And I just told him about a year ago. And this is years ago when we went through this. He told me that I would have to accept my husband as he is. Meaning, whatever he wanted to do, am I willing to just let him do whatever he wanted to do? That's what that pastor told me. And I looked at him and I knew then that it wasn't going to be a man that was going to be able to, when I say man, I'm talking about woman, man, whoever, human. It wasn't a human that was going to be able to walk me through this, because he's only human too. You understand what I'm saying? To answer your question, I had to let go of anybody being able to rescue me and teach me and show me what I had to do next. And I had to rely on God. That was the pivotal moment when everything had been tried, everything had been done, and there was no other option except God. And that is the truth.
Yeah.
When he took me by my hand, it was a 2-year process, guided me through who I was before my name changed. Meaning, before I became that man's wife, I was still God's daughter. That's when that dream happened. He took me back to when I used to be that little girl in the country, barefooted and fishing. He showed me all of the joys that he had put in me before I was even knit together in my mother's womb. He took time with me over 2 years to teach me how to be quiet. Even when on the inside I wanted to scream, he showed me how to manage my emotions, that everything I did and said didn't have to be encapsulated with how I felt.
Wow.
That truth didn't require me to feel it. Truth was just truth, standing alone. You know what I mean? He taught me. It was so hard, but so good at the same time. So that was a pivotal moment. The girl was so sad. We was sitting in this big, beautiful church in the office where they do counseling. The table was marble, it was huge. The pastor was right in front of me. My husband was right there. And when I looked at that pastor, I realized that he's only a man and no human is going to be able to help me. Girl, I cried.
Yeah.
And it was almost like the Holy Spirit just began to talk to me in that moment. And they thought I was crying because of the situation. But I was crying because I was now on this journey of rediscovering what I was birthed into this earth realm to do. Why am I going through this? Because I'm going to have to create space for women like me who have built a life, the idea of losing a life, to rebuild it in a way that is honoring not only to her, but to her family, to those that she works with, and ultimately to God.
Wow.
I know that was a lot. I'm sorry.
It was so powerful. You know why it was so powerful to me? So many reasons. But first, when I think about those of us who grew up in the church and were taught that that's where you can come for your answers, and it's real humbling and disappointing, It can be real humbling and disappointing when you realize that the leaders are human, that the leaders are people.
Yeah.
And the leaders, they don't always have the answers. It's a real shock to the system. But at the same time, it sounds like it was very helpful to you in that you had to say, okay, where does my help cometh from, right?
Girl.
Yeah, truly cometh from. It's such a powerful testimony how that us letting go, what we think we should do or who we think can help us is when the Holy Spirit can start to talk to us. It's just so profound and so powerful in so many ways. I just know there's some people that are going to be listening to this going, oh my goodness, I have been there. I've been in those counseling sessions. We are going nowhere fast. Yeah. So during this 2-year process, you're still married. Are you kind of just coexisting?
Yeah, that's the best way to put it, because this is how I describe it. Because again, I'm an art girl. I'm a paint you with picture friend. I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
He had a brick wall up. I realized that I couldn't get over it or around it. I was so busy doing so many different things. Like I said, I was cocky, egotistical, all of the things. He was on the shelf. He wasn't going nowhere. He was mine. I ain't like him. Ain't nobody else gonna like him either. That was my man, right? Look, that's what I was telling brother. Look, as soon as you take your shoes off, I literally used to tell this man, when you take your shoes off and somebody see your feet, they ain't gonna want you.
Real.
I was a mess. I was such a mess. We were existing well, though. We were coexisting well. We were friends. We hung out from time to time. But when my kids graduated and went off to college and moved out and got grown, and I didn't have that space filler, I wanted more. I needed my friend. Them kids, they didn't need me no more. So I'm reaching over there trying to get my friend off the shelf. And my friend then won't be taken off the shelf. He had his own friends. He had his own life going on. But now it's like, what do you mean you don't want to play with me? What do you mean you don't want to create space? For years, it had been about those kids. It had been about every other thing that I was doing all over the place. And now that I have a space open, he's supposed to fill that space. Oh, no. So I was at a brick wall, and by the grace of God, the Holy Spirit was right there with me, and he talked me through it. He showed me that you're going to be okay. Stay in position. Let me teach you while you're here without the noise. And eventually, those bricks began to fall.
Where do you think the brick wall came from? Why do you think he built it?
Because I was unavailable. I was busy. I was wearing the mom hat.
Gotcha.
I was wearing the professional hat. I was wearing all of these individual hats well, but the wife hat was just a given. You know what I mean?
I do.
His wife hat was just a given. And I thank God for him teaching me. And I'm so grateful. All of those other roles fall and fit perfectly under the hat of a wife. I didn't have to come from under my call, that position, to be a mother, to be a professional, to be a sister, to be a friend. If I walked in all of those rooms with my wife hat on, she can do them all flawlessly. Does that make sense?
It does. It does make sense. It's so deep. I think the biggest misconception of wives is that, if we're cooking, if we're cleaning, if we're taking care of the kids, well, that's all we need to do. He should just be happy with that. Can you tell me from your perspective what you think the biggest misconception is about being a wife or being a helpmeet today? And how you want to shift that narrative?
I say this, and I mean it. It goes back to knowing the difference between the things you can't buy and the things that you can. I think the biggest misconception is that a wife is to cook, to clean, to do the clothes, all of the things that you can pay somebody to do. Woo! Do you hear me? We are so much more than that. We are so much more than that. Look at Proverbs 31, and I think they tripping. Because the Proverbs 31 woman was, that was a wife. She was all in the city doing the thing.
Yeah.
You hear me?
Yeah.
But the thing that made me really say, thank you, Holy Spirit, for teaching me and getting me to a place where I can look at that passage of scripture in a different way. She made her husband's name great at the city gate.
Yes.
We bypassed that. You hear me? We don't even really dig into the scripture like we should, but it didn't negate her role as a wife. She made his name great at the city gate. Before people even entered into Briscoe, Dallas, McKinney, they knew her husband's name. You feel me?
Let me make sure I do. My question is, how do you walk that out? Because when someone is saying, okay, to be a good wife, I need to cook. To be a good wife, I need to clean. Okay, I can tell somebody how to do that. But how can I explain to my daughter what that truly means to make your husband's name great? What does that truly mean?
Here's the best way that I can articulate that.
Okay.
I'm great at a lot of things. In corporate America, I've been able to learn and do a whole lot of stuff. My husband is an entrepreneur. He built a business from the ground up in 2009. The first time I came out of corporate America to work with my husband, I did it from the perspective of my resume. You know, I have a master's degree. Hey, I do all of these things, and you want me to come and be your assistant.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? And so I had to end up back in corporate America because it didn't work well. And I had to stay there for 4 years before I was released to be able to come at this thing from a different perspective.
Mhm.
So me as a contract administrator, me as a management expert, all of the things, I had to bring all of the things that I thought so highly of myself to this business.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to give it to the business without fail as a help me. Everything that I think highly of myself regarding who I might be, I have to be willing to give it to my husband. Are you bringing all of your resume to your home to make that home function as great as it would in corporate America? Are you bringing those things to your home? How are you evaluating or assessing whatever God is giving you to do, whatever skill set, whatever tool, whatever thing that you bring? How are you making whatever vision God has given that husband? How are you using it to make it meet whatever it is that God has for him to do? And here's something that really just kind of blew me away, even when it was dropped in me to do. If I think so highly of him and God gave me to him,
Mm-hmm.
what in the world does God have in him to do?
Wow.
If he gave me to him,
Yeah,
you hear me?
I do.
If he gave all the things that I regard as whatever I regard them as, and if he gave me to him to help him meet, what in the world does this dude have going on?
Yeah.
Have you took the time to discover that?
Yeah. Oh, that's good. That's good.
Mm-hmm.
Very good. What does that say about him?
Yeah.
God says, I think so much of you. I'm going to give you Suzanne.
Girl, that is huge.
It is.
But like you said, and you said it so eloquently, we've been raised to be independent. We've been raised to do all of these things and do them well. But at this point, in this stage of the game, how easy is it going to be for us to be able to take all of the things that we were given because they were good and be able to freely give them?
Yeah.
Especially if we're in a covenant relationship.
Mhm.
You know, are we going to look back at what that looks like, what it says a wife is? I have clients that are Muslim. I have clients that live by different religious principles. I have clients that aren't religious at all.
Mhm.
But the one thing that binds us is love.
Yeah.
Love for our husbands if we're married, love for those that we're getting ready to marry, or love for what it is that we do in the marketplace. So love binds up.
Mhm.
So if you love that thing, you're going to do the work.
Mhm.
You're going to position yourself to bring your best self forward to make whatever the thing that's on the table as best as it can be. So it comes down to love.
Yeah. Is that what you want wives to take away from your message? Really, anyone? Is that it comes down to love? Or is there something else that you want people to walk away with when they hear all that you had to share today? What is the most important thing you want them to get out of this message?
Discover who you are at your core. Sit with it. Just sit with it. And once you sat with it, give yourself permission to be her everywhere you go, in every room.
Mhm.
Practice, build the muscle of being comfortable with who you are. period.
Yeah, that is absolutely wisdom at its best.
Wow.
It is. As we're on wisdom, can you tell us a little bit more about your amazing foundation? You have this foundation called I Am Wife. It's a movement, I know. But can you tell us a little bit about what this foundation, why you started it, the purpose, and just what you want people to know about your foundation?
It's a culmination of everything we just talked about and a little bit more. I founded I Am Wife because of all of the things that I went through, meaning trying to be a wife, trying to be a business, trying to be all of the things to everybody, and finding myself in a position where I did not know who I was. And once it was discovered that I'm okay, I might be weird, I might be a nerd, I might be all of the things that people may not like, but I'm her, right? And I like her. I really, really do. I was like, it got to be some women out there like myself that have been blessed in so many areas, blessed to have a measure of success in business, blessed to be able to do it with your husband or your family, however that looks, blessed to have all of these different nuances that make up women today. And we're trying to juggle it all. I thank God for allowing me to get to a place where I don't juggle. I don't juggle anymore. I pulled all of the different ways that I was moving into one space. And what that did is show me who I am, how I'm showing up in every room. And what we do is cultivate a plan. If you're her and you're doing so many different things, you just don't have time for yourself, we help you cultivate a plan that puts you front and center in all of those different areas. And you can show up as you are and you can give your best in every one of those spaces and yield the results that you want to yield. We don't try to tell you what to do or how to do it. You cultivate your own plan. And we walk with you through that. We have partnered with some great nutritionists. We partnered with stylists. We partnered with other coaches. A team of us come together to help you develop your plan and stick to it.
I love it. Where can we go to find out more? What if we want to sign up today? Where can we go?
You go to I Am White Foundation and you just reach out and let us know that you're ready. And we'll partner you with the right people to get you where you want to be.
Love it. Love it. Suzzen, today has been so terrific for myself. I feel like I've gained so much wisdom that I'm going to take into my own relationship and in my own life. And I hope so many people hear this and it helps them. And I really do think it will. Thank you so very much for being a guest on the Bernitha Rena Relates podcast.
Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. It has been a pleasure. In the end, the secret to love was never hidden in another person. When you listen to the truth God placed inside you and live in alignment with it, something powerful happens. You learn to love yourself, not from pride, but from purpose. You reflect love outwardly, freely, honestly, openly, without fear or conditions. That's the secret, y'all. Connection to your true self, alignment with God's design. And from that place, love stops being something you search for and it becomes the life you live. So if you don't know, ask the Lord, what's my purpose? And do me a favor, follow me on Instagram at @Bernitha Rena Relates and YouTube and Facebook at Bernitha Rena Relates. Thanks for listening. I love you for it. We'll talk soon.
What's been done is done again. Same old story, different man. Yeah. We love, we make mistakes, trying to learn from what life takes. We make mistakes, trying to learn from what life takes. Let's contemplate, can we relate? Under the sun, it all feels the same. You and me, just different names. Let's contemplate, can we relate? Yeah. Let's contemplate, can we